Hello guys and welcome back to FA Cup predictions. Sophie, it's the 5th round. The winners of these 8 games are going to the quarterfinals. It's getting interesting now.
It's getting very interesting now.
Share your predictions down below, guys. Honestly, I can't wait. And before we get into our predictions, let's go for 2,200 likes. And we could definitely do that with your great support. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe as well. We've got so much football content coming over the next couple of weeks, so make sure to get involved by liking and subscribing. Sophie, let's dive straight into the predictions, and we start on Friday night with Aston Villa versus Cardiff City. Now, straight away, there is an obvious favourite, but can you make any case for Cardiff? They did win in midweek against Hull City, so they've eased their relegation fears, and Aston Villa were really poor at Crystal Palace. Well beaten 4-1.
Yeah.
We can also throw into the mix that Aston Villa have got some focus on the Champions League this season, and you know they're trying to finish in the top 5 or 6 in the Premier League as well. You can make a couple of cases that Cardiff come here and give them a good game. Ultimately, Villa just have the power though, don't they, and the quality, and even on their bench, you know, if they rotate, surely they'll be able to beat Cardiff. I'm not sure it'll be massively comfortable.
No, I was going to say that. I don't think it'll be like by a clear and obvious margin, but I think they'll just edge it.
Yeah, let's go for Villa to win 2-0 as my prediction.
Okay.
And to be honest, you look at some of the teams that are left in the FA Cup, you could make a good argument for Villa being one of those teams that get to the final.
Yeah, you could, to be honest. I think for them, depends where their focus will be, but do they have that squad depth enough to rotate and still get the win in this one? I think so, but as I already said, by a fine margin for me. So 1-0 Villa. I think Cardiff, if they come here and they just make it very, very difficult for Villa to break them down, they could get something, but I do just fancy Villa to edge it. Yeah,
well, to be honest, with Aston Villa, Sophie, since losing in the final to Arsenal, I think 10 years ago in 2015, they've not been very good in this competition. I mean, we went to see Aston Villa lose to Stevenage a couple of years ago, but if they can get past Cardiff, they're into the quarterfinals. Do share your thoughts, Aston Villa and Cardiff City fans. A big game there. The next one, Sophie, is between Crystal Palace and Millwall. Oh, this will be tasty. Another Premier League versus Championship matchup, but this one's a derby, Sophie. It's a London derby.
Yeah.
It's two very passionate fan bases. You know, I think Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park can make a real noise, but Millwall, Sophie, they'll be there in their numbers, and I think it could be an interesting game. Once again, we do have a quite clear and obvious favourite with the Premier League team being at home again, but Millwall have improved recently in the Championship under Alex Neil, and they did go away to Leeds and win in the last round. Can you make a case for them possibly getting through?
Yeah, but I think what we should mention is that Leeds, it looked like they wanted to go out last time, so Millwall benefited from that, whereas Palace aren't looking to go out. They're not fighting on all fronts here. They want to finish as high as they can in the Premier League and then do as well in this competition as possible. This is a great opportunity for them to get quite far and possibly to the final, and I fancy them winning this one.
This is interesting, isn't it? Because I think once again, as I said for Villa, that the competition might have opened up for them. Maybe it's opened up for a Crystal Palace as well, because Crystal Palace have been very good lately, and there's no chance that they're going to go down. It was a great win against Villa, 4-1 in midweek. Could they make Europe? Possibly, but it might be a bit of a stretch. So why not turn their attention to an FA Cup run?
Exactly.
I think Millwall are really going to be up for this though, and that away end is going to be buzzing with loads of people going Mill,
just Mill for 90 minutes.
But my head is telling me Mill will give them a good game, but Palace just have the quality to sneak through. I'm going to go Palace 2, Millwall 1.
Okay, I'm chucking in another goal. I'm going to say Palace 3-1. Just I fancy Palace to go quite strong in their lineups for this one, because what really are you resting them for? Whereas Millwall, this is a great opportunity for them to progress as well. So I think they're going to turn up. They're going to be up for this game because of it being a derby anyway. But the fact that this is a great run through to the semis, so they'll be up for it. I just don't think they've got enough quality to beat Palace. So I fancy them to get a goal, but Palace win 3-1.
3-1. Do share your thoughts down below, guys. We're both back in Palace. We're both going for the favourites so far.
Nice, yeah.
Let's move on to the next game, Sophie, which is an all-championship affair between Preston North End and Burnley. Now, Burnley are the favourites, but I think this could be interesting because Burnley have a lot more going on in the league than Preston. If you're a Preston fan, you know, you're probably not going down. You're probably not making the playoffs. Do you turn your attention to this? If you put everything into this, you know how like Coventry put everything into the Wolves and Man United game in the FA Cup last year?
It affected us in the league.
But Preston haven't got a lot to play for in the league. So I think this is, it is doable for Preston. You know, I know Burnley are going to be favourites, but I don't think Preston should be taken lightly here.
No.
For Burnley, it's just that brilliant defensive record that's hard to see past. The only way I can see Preston doing it is obviously 1-0 or
0-0. But then, do you want to go to penalties with James Trafford? No, you don't.
I think did Preston knock out a team on penalties in the EFL Cup this season, or was it the FA Cup? I honestly think this will be close. Burnley, no, I'll just go for Burnley. I'll go Preston 0, Burnley 1. Burnley just scare me with how good they are defensively. You know, just too organised at the back, and I think they'll win.
I feel boring just constantly going for the favourites. Like, ultimately, I'm going to do that again, but do you know what? I think it might go all the way. I think Preston might hold them to a 0-0 draw, because I don't know if Burnley would almost do what Leeds did last stage of the cup, where they think, oh, do you know what? More focus on the league. So I think Burnley might rotate a little bit, but I still think they'll come out strong. Ultimately, I've got them to win on penalties.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you've got James Trafford in the net, so he's a penalty specialist. I fancy him to see them through it.
Yeah, unless they maybe rotate, because I think when they played Reading in the FA Cup in the third round, they changed the keeper, and I think he let in a really bad goal. Do share your thoughts. Yeah, bring him on for penalties. Yeah. Do share your thoughts, Preston and Burnley fans. We're being painfully predictable so far. On to the next game, Sophie. It's AFC Bournemouth versus Wolves. Now, remember, these two played in the Premier League only a week or two ago, and I did say at the time, would you rather win the league game or the cup game? And their fans were really split on that. It was a good question. Wolves did win the league game. They won the
league game, yeah.
So I might go for Bournemouth to win the cup game.
Okay.
You know, they've both got a lot to play for. Bournemouth are going to try and finish in the top 5, top 6 in the Premier League. Wolves have got to stay up. Right now, it looks like they might. I know they've just lost to Fulham, but Ipswich Town and Leicester can't do anything at the minute to stop them. And for Bournemouth, I know they lost to Brighton 2-1, but I fancy them to get back to winning ways. I'm going to go Bournemouth 2, Wolves 1.
Do you know what? I fancy Wolves to do the double over them in like a week. So Wolves 2-1 for me. I feel like they've got their number now after that league game. I know Bournemouth had a man sent off, so it's down to 10 men. So it is a very different game, 11 versus 11. But I don't know, I just fancy Wolves to do it. Yeah, 2-1, Wolves go through.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's definitely on a knife edge. You know, Bournemouth are favourites, but not like by a massive margin.
Not a clear favourite, no.
And, you know, Wolves, they nearly got to the FA Cup semi-finals last year if it wasn't for a certain Coventry City.
Big old comeback.
It really has opened up, by the way. There's plenty of sort of mid-table Premier League teams left in this. Do share your thoughts. I mean, you know, let's see who gets through. The next game, Sophie, is at the Etihad. It's Manchester City versus Plymouth Argyle. It's the biggest mismatch in the competition, and it's probably the
David versus Goliath, isn't it?
It's David versus Goliath, and it's probably the favourites to win the FA Cup now. Man City, probably on paper the strongest team left, versus the lowest ranked team in Plymouth Argyle, who are in the bottom 3 in the Championship. Let's not forget, Plymouth Argyle have beaten Brentford and they've beaten Liverpool. This would be quite something if they win this. They are taking 8,000 fans up to Manchester, which is incredible, because it's about 5 hours from Plymouth to Man City and then 5 hours back again. This is a magic occasion, and not many people are surely going to think Plymouth have a chance, but I've got two options here. One is I go with my head, which is like 4-0 Man City.
Hello. Option
2 is I go with my heart and Plymouth somehow find a way, but
snatch it,
I would prefer it if it was at home park.
I was about to say that. I'd give them more of a chance if they were at home.
Seeing as we don't score points in these predictions and you only live once, Man City 1, Plymouth 1, Plymouth on penalties.
Oh, I love that.
There you go. I'm back in Plymouth. That away end will go mental. Do I think it'll happen? Not really, but there's that tiny bit of me that's like, go on Argyle.
Yeah, so I mean, they say things come in threes. They've done Brentford, they've done Liverpool. Can they do Man City? I'm going to be the party pooper. I'm going to say no. I'm going to go more sensible. My heart says Plymouth, but ultimately I think Man City will do it probably like 2-0. So, I mean, I genuinely think that Plymouth could go there and give them a good game, because I didn't expect them to beat Liverpool. I didn't expect them to beat Brentford. So they might actually be glad that I'm not expecting them to beat Man City, because they might then do the hat-trick and beat them as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, remember, Man City beat Salford like 8-0. They also beat Tottenham this week, by the way, 1-0. And I'm glad you've gone for Man City, because at least one of us is being realistic. Otherwise, this channel would lose any kind of credibility it's got if we both went for Plymouth.
Yeah, but if we're constantly going for the favourites, that's boring as well. So
exactly.
at least you're spicing it up.
Spicing it up. Let us know your thoughts. I'm sure Man City fans are not going to be too impressed with me. But like I say, who predicted them to beat Liverpool? No one. So let's see what happens. The next game, Sophie, is between Newcastle United and Brighton. This is a tough one, isn't it? It's a nice opportunity for both teams here. The thing is, Sophie, with Newcastle, they've got the Carabao Cup final coming up. And, you know, they're desperate for silverware. Do they really go for this as well to keep their options open in case they lose the Carabao Cup final? Whereas Brighton are obviously out of the Carabao Cup final. They could put maybe a bit more into this. I'm not sure if that's how you can look at it. Both are doing fairly well in the Premier League. Newcastle have just lost to Liverpool, but they did beat Forest 4-3 the game before that. Brighton just beat Bournemouth 2-1, as you predicted. Honestly, you could flip a coin. I can see either of them getting through. I will just go with home advantage, though.
Okay.
Newcastle 2-1.
Okay, because I backed Brighton last time, that paid off. I might just do the same again, to be honest. Purely because I didn't realise Isak was injured against Liverpool. I don't know how long it's going to be, so he could well be injured for this one, and he is a massive miss. I know they've got Callum Wilson to step in and lead the line, but against Liverpool, he just looked really rusty. I know it might take a couple of games to get to it, but ultimately they can't afford that in these kind of games because there's no second leg. So, Brighton 2-1. It worked last time. Roll the dice, hope it happens again.
There you go. We're going in opposite directions for a couple of predictions here. Do share your thoughts down below on Newcastle versus Brighton. It feels very open and either team could win it. The next game, Sophie, is at Old Trafford as Manchester United take on Fulham. Another one where I could see either team winning this. Here's how I'm feeling about this game, Sophie. Who is the better team this season? Fulham. Who's going to finish higher in the Premier League this season? Fulham. Who do I think is more likely to win the FA Cup out of these two? Man United.
Yeah, they've just got that tendency, haven't they, to somehow get through the FA Cup. You think, oh, they're not doing too well, and then win it.
Yeah.
You think, how have they managed that?
They are the masters of the one-off knockout game.
Yeah.
I think they could just sneak through this. I genuinely think Fulham are better, but I think Man United are going to win. 1-0.
Oh, I don't know. It's really hard because I know what you're saying about the FA Cup, but under Amorim, and the squad they've got at the moment at their disposal, I'm not too sure. 1-1, Fulham on pens.
Oh.
Yeah, just fancy Fulham, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah, Fulham, obviously, by the way, good win away at Wolves in midweek. Yeah. But Man United, I mean, I suppose credit to them.
Yeah, 10 men.
Because, you know, drawing with Ipswich with 10 men, and they've gone on to win the game. So, yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Character there, yeah.
Yeah, share your thoughts, Man United and Fulham fans. We move on to the final game then, Sophie, at the City Ground as Nottingham Forest take on Ipswich Town. Let's carry on talking about the Ipswich Man United game, by the way, Sophie. Right. That is a disaster for Ipswich because that was an opportunity presented to them with Manchester United getting the red card. And for Ipswich to not even get a draw, to lose it, makes me really worried now because Wolves have got just that bit more about them right now than Ipswich. And it's a shame because I don't want to see the three promoted teams keep going down, but it looks like that's where we are.
Yeah.
Let's see if they can go on a cup run, Sophie. It's not impossible they could come here and try and get through, but it's Forest, isn't it? You know, Forest are very solid, and it was a decent 0-0 against Arsenal in midweek, and Forest are another team that could really fancy themselves to win the cup. I mean, imagine... top 5 or top 4 would be an incredible finish for Forest this season. But imagine if they also get to an FA Cup final. It could happen. Let's see how the draw goes, but they have to win this game first. We saw Ipswich come to Coventry in the last round. They were very good, but that was against a Championship side. I think Forest are just going to be too strong defensively, and I can see Forest grinding out a 1-0 win.
I actually feel the exact same. We obviously saw Ipswich Town last round against Coventry City, and they didn't put out their strongest 11, and they took their chances. Like, I will say, Coventry gifted them. I mean, we gave them a penalty after 20 seconds. That's a great way to start their game. But we were just gifting them chance after chance, and to be fair, they were taking them and finishing them off. That I don't think is going to happen against Forest. They're a very, very good defensive unit. They don't play much with possession, but they'll hit them on the counter. And I do fancy Forest just edging it 1-0 in this, so I'm in agreement.
There you go. Both backing Forest to beat Ipswich 1-0. Sorry, Ipswich fans, and for Forest fans, yeah, what a time to be alive. I mean, maybe top 4 and an FA Cup run. Who knows?
Great season that been.
Finally, Sophie, before we wrap it up, give me 2 teams that are going to make it to the FA Cup final.
Okay, so my 2 teams, I'm going to say Man City and Forest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was going to say Man United and Forest.
Yeah,
so
I see what you're saying, Man United, but I just fancy them to go out to Fulham.
To be different then, I'll say Man United and Villa. As much as I'd love Forest to get there, I'll just throw out 2 different teams. I'll have a Man United Villa final, and you're saying a Man City Forest final. There you go. Share your thoughts down below. Who's going to be in the FA Cup final? Let us know in the comments. That wraps up today's video, guys. Thank you so much for your great support. Make sure you have dropped a like and hit the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds, so yeah, go on, get involved. Thank you for joining me, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you for more predictions next week. Take care. Peace out.